Welcome to No Stats, where we call it how we see it.
Back again with another one.
Back again, and I do not want to be here today. I thought about getting a replacement, but
He was looking for a prop.
before we jump in, right, and Peach tortures me. As always, make sure y'all like, share, comment, subscribe. All comments is welcome. Good, bad, ugly. Make sure you subscribe. Tell a friend to subscribe and ring that bell. Because me and Peach going to keep giving y'all these weekly recaps of the NFL season, college football updates, NBA's right around the corner. Everything. We got y'all covered. So ring that bell and subscribe.
It's Christmas in the sports world, baby. Tune in. Tune in.
Watch the handle. It takes skill. We got to run it back. We in the field and you said it Jason Jack. You in your field, we looking for the facts. Let's keep it real, we talking no stats. We talking no stats. We talking no stats.
Bro, I'm gonna let you go. I don't we're gonna get this. We're gonna recap the entire week one. The main games, right? But with this, I know the game you want to start with, so I'm gonna let you go.
You know the game I want to start
get this
with.
Out
First
the way.
of all, shout out to Baker Mayfield and them boys getting a big dub yesterday. Big dub. And I'm not too sold on it because I know this Vikings team is offensively, with Justin Jefferson and you still got Kirk Cousins. But still on the defensive side of the ball, I don't know how good this team really is. But this is a big week one statement for this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that you were sleeping on all season, man. You were sleeping. You see my man Mike catches?
I was asleep. I'll admit that. And I'm going to say I'm still asleep, bro. Congratulations to them. They definitely shocked me. I didn't think they would win that game. I thought it would be close. I did take Buccaneers spread because I was worried about the Vikings defense. But again, and this is strictly for this game. But again, it's week one, right? Like the Vikings are clearly a better team than the Buccaneers, right? But it's any given Sunday. It's week one. You got some new players. You lose some players. They have the Vikings have a new defensive coordinator in Brian Flores. So trying to figure some things out. When you have new pieces, and I don't think Kirk Cousins or Justin Jefferson or a lot of the starters played in preseason games. So I think with week one in the books, they'll be able to figure some things out. And I think as teams get more film on Baker Mayfield, it won't be a lot of the same because I did catch some of that game. And some points, when he gets flustered, sometimes he looks out of sorts. But with that being said, Peach is going to win a lot today. He's going to love this because this is his day.
I know they got the film out on Baker, but I'm telling you, all it's going to take is for 2 to 3 weeks for Baker to settle in, to realize these weapons, these targets I've been talking about all season, and Baker's going to flourish. I'm telling you, don't be surprised. Not going to get too hyped, but don't be surprised if we see a Bucs team win this division. This division is very winnable for this veteran ball club.
So, what was our prediction? Or my prediction, because it wasn't yours. I'll be honest.
I would say 5. I say you had this team maybe winning 5 games.
Maybe. I think that might be maybe generous. 6. I can take a look quickly.
I think you had this team winning 5 games, and we're 4-way.
3-14. 3-14.
Wow. They hammered the over on this when he dropped this. Oh my god!
All right, so how many wins you saying for them?
I mean, shit. I like 5 to 6 wins from this team.
5 to 6 wins.
If they're going to win a division, I think they're going to have to get 7 to 8.
They're going to have to get at least 8, 9. They can't win a division with 7 wins. That's ridiculous. I don't think that has ever happened in the history of the National Football League.
Well, shit, you got to make history sometimes. Anyways, moving on.
Yeah. Moving on.
To this ass whooping Cincy guy yesterday. God damn. I didn't watch the game. I peeked in a couple times during I remember one drive Deshaun Watson got the quarterback sneak, which was a very well designed play. They overloaded everybody on the right side, was able to get in there, but the couple takes I was looking at Joe Burrow, he seemed a little bit out of sync. I don't know if it was maybe because of the injuries he was dealing with, maybe not able to build as much chemistry and camaraderie with this team in the preseason. I know he's been with these guys, but still being able to be out there in the field and build with these guys. But we're talking to one of the number one Bengals fans in the nation. And I know you haven't been able to talk much since yesterday.
Yeah.
But what was some of the things that you saw from this week one ass whooping coming from the Browns, who I picked to win this goddamn division?
See, Peach loving today. Peach is loving today. Before I get into everything that I saw in the game, because I watched the game from front to back, which was torture. Bro, it was horrible watching it. After a while, I'm like, yo, I don't even want to watch this shit no more. I went from sitting like this to laying on the couch like this after a while. But I don't know what it is, man. I went back and I looked before I get into yesterday's game. I went back and I looked, and 2 years ago, when I run to the Super Bowl, the Bengals lost 41-16 to the Browns. Last year, I believe it was 31-3 to the Browns on Halloween or something like that. Then this year, it's 24-3. It's just I don't know what it is about Cleveland, but we just cannot figure that out. That's number one. So from now on, until they figure it out, I'm not picking us to beat the Browns no more. We did beat them in Cincy last year, but in Cleveland, it's we stand no chance. And then on top of that, it's another slow start to the season. You know what I mean? Last year, we get off and Joe Burrow turns the ball over 5 times at home against the Steelers. Just uncharacteristic of Joe Burrow. 5 turnovers in one game. And I was at that game, and I just was confused week one. In the same feeling that I am now. And then week 2, we go out and we lose to the Cowboys with Cooper Rush at quarterback. Right? And then we go on and win 14 of our last 16 games. So, slow starts, but there's no excuses, bro. Bengals fans, and I'm included in that, have waited all offseason, bro. You get this anticipation built up. You can't wait to go, see your team play. And then for week 1 to be like that, it's just deflating as hell. But you're right. Joe Burrow, I don't know if it was the injury, but that's no excuse. When you go out on that field, you're signing up to say I'm 100%. So you decided to play with the calf. I understood what happened in the offseason, but you got to play better than that. Number 2, the offensive line, bro, continues to be an issue. Jim Schwartz, the Browns' new defensive coordinator, blitzed and put the pressure on the Bengals' offensive line and Joe Burrow, as they should. And the Bengals just they had no answer. And I'm starting to believe, and I know it's early and I don't want to push the panic button, but the same thing happened last year. The Bengals' offensive line got to a slow start. And then they started picking it up throughout the season until they dealt with some injuries at the end of the year. But these slow starts are so bothersome, bro. And I'm starting to think it's Frank Pollock, our offensive line coach. I don't want to because there are good times where they play. But it's Orlando Brown, Super Bowl champion. Ted Karras, 2-time Super Bowl champion. Alex Kappa, Super Bowl champion. We got 3 guys, veterans on that offensive line that have championships, that have won at the highest level. And it just seems like they don't want to block for Joe Burrow. It's week 1. I'm trying not to overreact. Joe Burrow said, don't panic. It's week 1. Nobody's in here panicking. We're going to figure it out. And that was Joe Burrow's worst game of his career. It was an anomaly. I don't think that'll happen again. But it just hurts that I have to wait until a whole week and I got to sit with this. And I'm the only Bengals fan in my area, right? So everybody's texting me. It was to your point yesterday, I wasn't even answering people's texts. Leave me the hell alone.
I texted him yesterday. I said, sheesh. I didn't say anything else. I just said, sheesh. It's
tough one.
Bucs won.
Yeah, I tried to change the subject quick. I was going to tell you to bring B-Gal back on the show so I can have somebody to suffer with. But
I know he was. I don't want to tell y'all about his Snapchat yesterday. We'll save that for the next time. We bring on. 2 things real quick, bro. I think a team like the Bengals, you kind of want to get punched in the mouth early. Maybe this can, relock things in to, of course, I had, a small window of success, with that being with the championship and the AFC, going to the AFC title game, but still haven't won anything yet. So sometimes you need that, quick flip to be like, yo, let's really get it together early. And, this is a team that has picked up momentum in the past. So yeah. I wouldn't be worried, what I'm saying?
I'm not too worried. It's just the fashion that we lost. The fact that it's to the Browns. Like I said, the anticipation being built up. But maybe you're right. Maybe that punch in the face. I think they're walking in ready to go to work this week. You know. So we'll see, and we'll be following it throughout the rest of the season. But I don't want to take too much time there.
Yeah, that's coming to my next point. We were talking about the offensive line. That New York Giants offensive line, everybody would have been cut yesterday. The whole, both tackles, both guards, and the center. Get everybody out of there, man.
Bro. And you want to hear something crazy, and this will segue right into that. We'll jump around, but we'll segue into that Cowboys-Giants game last night. But I did a season prediction. They got like this NFL playoff prediction where you can go through and pick every game throughout the season and, up to your Super Bowl. What's the name? And I got through it, and I'm like, wow, I think the Giants going to have a good year. And obviously, how I feel the way I feel about the Bengals in the AFC. And I'm like, I could see a Bengals-Giants Super Bowl. I said this before Sunday, or Saturday night or something. Both of the teams, they put up 3 points combined. They get blown out. I'm like, yo, I don't know anything, I guess. But it's week 1. I'm not hitting the panic button.
He said, cut him off at the head, man. Get it out the way.
Oh, man. But no, bro, the Cowboys put a you want to speak of ass whooping, they put a whooping on the Giants. The Giants didn't get anything done.
Bro.
They did.
The defense looked phenomenal, bro. Phenomenal.
They did. And I know the weather played a big part in a lot of the games, but both teams are playing under the same conditions, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not like, I don't think that's, a clear-cut advantage to either squad. But I just think the Cowboys was ready. I think they was ready mentally. They came out looking like they was ready. Maybe the Giants added in some new things that they thought would work. And once you sometimes fall in that hole, it's hard to get out of it. Because Dak Prescott didn't play that well. I think this defense, the special teams, Tony Pollard played well, and the Giants just couldn't get anything clicking. But again, this isn't the Giants, right? Just like that wasn't the Bengals. This isn't the Giants. I think the Giants will turn it around and fight to get into the playoffs. Not win this division, but fight to get into the playoffs.
They won't see a defensive line like that. I mean,
they'll see them again.
Not as stacked, not as crazily stacked outside of the Cowboys. But it was like, damn, they had a couple drives, and it was just like they was making mistake after mistake, and it was pick after pick. Daniel Jones running for his life. But like I said when we was talking about the Bengals, you need that early snuffing, I should say, just to make you pull your big boy pants up and get your fucking shit together.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, though. I was happy. Giants fans, I'm sorry. I was happy. I was like, whew, we don't have to be like, because if the Giants would have made that game close, and I thought the Giants was going to win that game, and I think we predicted the Giants would win opening night. But if they didn't win, we would have been the lowest score, and that 3-point outing we couldn't even move the ball. But jumping around here, I want to talk about the Eagle-Patriots game, because the Eagles ended up winning that game, but Mac Jones looked really good. He looked like he was moving the ball really well against this Eagles defense. You can't take back turnovers, but the tip pick 6 that Darius Slay got, I think, was the difference maker in that game. And then he converted not converted, but it was 4th down in the game, and he threw a nice ball. I think it was to Boutier, whatever, from or it might have been Kendrick Bourne, one of the two, on an out route, but they didn't get the other foot down, so that ended the ball game. But another game with tight weather conditions. Jalen Hurts said a win is a win. Doesn't matter how it looked. But were you, and this is a question for you, were you more impressed with the Patriots and Mac Jones, or more disappointed in the Eagles in their first game? Because it wasn't the dominant Eagles that we were seeing last year.
I think it was more towards the Patriots and what they did yesterday and Mac Jones, because we seen highlights of Mac Jones 2 years ago, and he was riddled with injuries, had to downplay season, and I think showing him on the rise, I think this is a good sign for this organization to buy back into him. And, the whole circumstances surrounding the game. You got Brady there, the hype, it was a feel-good feeling for New England. And I think on the Eagles side of it, you had your losses. You tried your best to plug in pieces, but you're still gelling. I felt like you're still figuring things out as well, even though you just came off a Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts also still got paid. So I feel like, they just settling in a little bit. A win is a win, so how much more could you really dissect it?
Yeah.
Besides from little things that they could work on. But I feel like this is a good spot for the Eagles and a good spot for the Patriots coming out.
I agree, bro. The good thing is the Eagles got out of there, even not playing their best ball, they got out of there with a win, right? And that's tough to do against Bill Belichick. I agree with the Mac Jones sentiment. I think he's played better this year. He has an offensive coordinator. Last year he had a defensive coordinator acting as offensive coordinator, and that's horrible. So he did play well. And I think this Eagles team will figure it out. I did see, they got the win. I think they'll continue to get better. I did see something on Instagram that said all the quarterbacks that got big contracts had had subpar games. Like Lamar didn't play that well. Jalen Hurts didn't play that well. Joe Burrow didn't play that well. Justin Herbert, I'm not sure what he did, but we can transition to this game. But they took a loss. These quarterbacks that got paid didn't, they all deserve the money, right? We know they'll figure it out, but just so happened coincidentally they played bad yesterday. But the Miami Dolphins, bro, may be the most exciting team in football.
215, Rick?
Bro.
215? God damn.
I think, and he's the scariest player in the NFL, definitely offensively. Like, Justin Jefferson is a better wide receiver. I think there's a few guys that's better at wide receiver, running routes, high pointing balls, like the technical stuff when it comes to the wide receiver position, creating separation. But Tyreek Hill is just so quick and fast, bro, that it doesn't matter what you do sometimes. If you lose a sight of him for a second, it's done. And if he catches it in space.
And also what I like, bro, he plays like he's 6'3", 6'4". Like, he'll go get those jump balls. He'll catch those passes in space. And compared to Russell Westbrook, he plays bigger than what he really is. Like, when you look at somebody like Russell Westbrook, and I know this is going a little bit off taking the NBA, but he's 6'2", but he really looks like he like 6'5", 6'6", when he's playing against you. And I feel like that's the same thing for Tyreek Hill, man. He's bigger than what he is because he's so fast and he's fearless and he's confident, man.
And I also think it's a respect level. I think the defense knows, I think they're nervous for him to get the ball because they know they're not going to catch him. Bro, like, it's crazy what Tyreek Hill is doing. And Tua played well, right? Tua numbers were spectacular. But I've been saying this for a while. Tua's good. Tua's a good quarterback when healthy. But I think Mike McDaniels is a phenomenal offensive-minded head coach, right? And I think what will end up hurting the Dolphins, because I don't think, and maybe they will, I don't think they're going to the Super Bowl. I think they're exciting, but I think the defense will end up biting the Dolphins, right? This all looks good, and they're exciting, but we know when it gets cold out. That's my thing. Right, like if you can get the number 1 seed and have to play all games in Miami, then I will watch out for Miami. But if you have to go to Buffalo, you have to go to Kansas City, you have to go to Cincinnati, you have to go to New York and the Jets, you got to go to the Ravens, you got to go to Cleveland. Like when you got to come up north and it's snow on the ground or it's raining like it was, when you can't air it out and the ball's slipping and Tyreek Hill can't get a lot of traction because the ground's wet, can you rely on the run game and things like that? So that's my question mark with them. But most exciting football team in the NFL right now. And then just to touch on the Chargers quickly before I turn it back over to you, bro. I think the Chargers will be fine. I think it's the same thing with the Chargers. I bet the over in that game. They can score points, and they have so many names on defense, but it doesn't come together, which I think is a defensive coordinator issue. But, I mean, Joey Bosa, Derwin James, Khalil Mack, J.C. Jackson, like they have some guys over there and just can't figure it out defensively. Starting off 0-1 isn't too bad, but I think they'll pick it up and fight for a playoff spot as well.
I agree, bro. Well said. I want to jump over too because I know we're trying to touch so many aspects of the field. I want to talk about this 49ers and the Steelers game and how good Brock Purdy looked, especially in that first half, and also a guy like Brandon Ayuk. I hope I'm saying that right. But kind of carving his way into this offensive system, because you already got Christian McCaffrey, you already got Deebo Samuel, you got George Kittle. But for him to be a superstar in his own right, and I know that could be a little lofty, but I'm saying as in him carving out his role on this team, it's so many things that can open up for him, and he can take this Niners team to a whole nother level. Especially with performances that he had yesterday. I think he had 2 touchdowns. I know he went over 100 yards, but what are some of the things you've seen, especially from this Niners offense, but from the game overall?
Yeah, I think the game first was another classic. Mike Tomlin's a great coach, right? He's one of the best coaches we've seen in our lifetime. But I think Kyle Shanahan and Mike McDaniels came from that Kyle Shanahan tree. He's really good at drawing up offensive schemes, and I just think the 49ers may have the best roster in the league and may have the best coach in the league, right? Because this is a team that has been in NFC Championship games and Super Bowl over the last, like we talk about the Chiefs and their success, right? And they've been in the AFC Championships. On the NFC, it's been the 49ers. They lost to the Eagles last year, but Jalen Hurts or Brock Purdy, when they were losing to the Rams, is it Matt Stafford or Jimmy G? Like, they've always had an average quarterback that's not, blow the socks off you. And maybe Brock Purdy isn't average. Maybe Brock Purdy is the guy, and he's having this Tom Brady type transition. But I just think they went in and executed at a higher level than Pittsburgh. I don't like Pittsburgh's offensive coordinator at all. I think they need to, handle some things a little differently. We had the Steelers to win that game, but I just think when it comes to executing and coaching, man, I just think Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers did what they were supposed to do. The offensive line, I don't want to go – they're not stated. T.J. Watt is still amazing. T.J. Watt is ridiculous. But, yeah, man, the 49ers is who I expected them to be, and this is my takeaway from the game. And the Steelers can still and will still rebound throughout the season as they take their lumps. So it's a big week of, for me at least, not overreacting and not underreacting, if you will. Not being too optimistic or too pessimistic about almost every team in week one.
That's how you got to do it. You got to take it with a grain of salt, man. And you see in week one, the world is in a frenzy. I understand it's your job in a way when it comes down to the media and journalism and, your takes on stuff. But damn, after one game, you could crown a team Super Bowl champion already. It's wild to me.
Yeah, absolutely. But with media, bro, with everybody has an opinion with social media, which we love, right? So leave your opinions, hit the comments up. But it's so we're so driven on recency bias. You know what I mean? But we always say this: give it time. Real football doesn't, start. You'll see who's who by Thanksgiving, right? So we'll go through these next couple games, these next couple weeks, and we'll start seeing who's who. Trust me, it happens all the time.